Life Unrehearsed, brought to you by Lianas Senior Transition Support, specialists in downsizing and seniors residences.
And good afternoon. Welcome to Life Unrehearsed. My name is Matt Delvecchio, specializing in life transitions, downsizing, and the senior living industry.
And I'm Corrie Sirota, clinical social worker and psychotherapist specializing in grief and loss.
Coming right up on the first half of today's show, it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Karen Malkin-Lazarovitz will tell us how tattoos can be a tool in helping women recover from mastectomy trauma. Quite interesting. That's coming up soon. Before that, though, Corrie, you have a pretty busy week coming up, especially Friday, don't you?
I certainly do. Aside from it being Breast Cancer Awareness Month, there's also a lot of awareness topics. And one of them is that October is a Pregnancy and Infant Awareness Month, or Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month. So I've organized a memorial ceremony online, virtual, on October 15th, which is Pregnancy and Infant Loss Remembrance Day. And so I'll post it on the Facebook page so that people can see if they know someone who has had that experience and want to join the ceremony. It's actually done all over North America, to be sure. So that's important. Plus, at the same time, keeping with the theme of loss, I'm speaking at virtually at the CJAD conference on Friday on helping teachers understand how to navigate grief and loss with their students.
It's always a challenging subject and topic, and you, is right up your alley, Corrie. I've heard you speak about this and so often, and you are amazing. So good on you, helping others. All right, what do we have coming up on the second half of the show?
On the second half, we're going to learn how a McGill social work student spearheaded a sneaker drive to provide an entire school with running shoes. That's coming up after the 3:30 news.
Yeah, Julian, what an initiative. And we're going to hear from him. All right. Karen Malkin-Lazarovitz had a preventative double mastectomy because she has a mutation that increases the risk of ovarian and breast cancer. She's here today to share a unique initiative she's involved with called Inc., Montreal, Canada. Karen, welcome to Life Unrehearsed.
Thank you. Good to be here. Good to be here virtually.
Great to have you on the show. Love this initiative. So let's back up a bit. Can you tell us your personal journey?
Yeah. So I found out 12 years ago that I carried a genetic mutation which put me at an extremely high risk for breast cancer and ovarian cancer. It affects 5 to 10% of the population. So the mutation I have is a BRCA mutation, same mutation that Angelina Jolie has. So I decided to do a risk-reducing double mastectomy. And as well, I did the same. I removed my ovaries because this mutation also puts you at high risk for ovarian cancer. And unfortunately, I suffered many complications over the course of the last 10 years. At the time, I had no option to keep my nipples or areolas. Things have changed since then. And after so many surgeries, I was sort of fed up with thinking about recreating nipples and areolas. And I started thinking about tattoos as an option to sort of finish my own reconstruction journey. And nobody was really talking about it. So I did my own research. And after, 7 years after my mastectomy, I ended up covering my scars with a beautiful mastectomy tattoo of flowers so that when I look in the mirror, now I see beauty instead of the trauma I see from the reminder of surgeries and complications.
So, Karen, how did you first learn about this initiative, this Inc. initiative?
So I saw one little post on Facebook about a woman who ended up covering her scars, and it was a small little initiative based out of Colorado, and it was called Inc. at the time, which stands for Personal Inc. And it was a gentleman by the name of Noel who started it because his sister-in-law just didn't want any more, nipple reconstruction. And so he thought it was such an interesting idea, and he connected her, if I'm not mistaken, with an artist and thought it would be a great idea to be able to provide this to other women. So he had started offering this to other women and reaching out to artists, and I saw there was nothing like it in Canada. So I tracked him down on Facebook and said, I love this initiative. I want to bring it to Montreal. And he said, take it and run with it. So that's what I did, and that was 5 years ago.
Nice. Listening to Life on Rehearse with Matt and Corrie, and we're talking about a unique initiative for women who have had mastectomies with the organizer, Karen Malkin-Lazarovitz. So, Karen, just a wonderful initiative and good for you. I love how you've just described see beauty instead of trauma. So true. And, you know, you went all out, and I heard you were actually in New York City doing a whole runway walk. Tell us about that.
I was. So, you know, I just feel that the best way to sort of advocate for others is to connect. And I met this wonderful woman named Dana who had gone through her own breast cancer journey at 27 and was a fashion designer, and realized that after a mastectomy, you cannot find bras that are comfortable. They're just not made for women who have had breast reconstruction or no reconstruction. So we connected over some conferences, you know, over the course of a few years, and she ended up teaming up with some people who wanted to fundraise for metastatic breast cancer, and decided to do a runway show in New York City to launch her mastectomy line. And she asked me to walk the runway as part of that fashion show, and all the money raised went to research into metastatic breast cancer, which is stage 4 breast cancer.
You got to know your feelings walking down that runway with people staring at you, and this is kind of your coming out party here, isn't it?
I definitely was nervous, but you know, when you're out there and you make yourself vulnerable, you realize that people are not judging you based on what you look like or the fact that you have, you know, half of your breast out. You're really walking to represent all these women who don't have that opportunity. And it's something so much bigger than yourself. So I kind of just went with the flow, but it was scary.
For sure. But, you know, Karen, you're a warrior. There's no doubt about it. And you also happen to be beautiful, both inside and out. Like, you're just stunning. And if anyone wants to see some of the pictures, they're up on our Facebook, Life on Rehearse Facebook page, because they are just spectacular photos of your reconstruction, of the tattoos, of a number of women who have participated. How many women have participated in this program that you're doing to date? Do you know?
In general, or the initiative that I brought to Montreal, because I don't know the numbers. There's been 15 locations throughout North America. With the exception of Canada, I'm the only one that's here locally. I can't tell you off the top of my head. Right. I know for myself, I've been able to provide, I believe, 22 mastectomy tattoos over the course of 5 years, with the hopes of growing to be able to offer this to more women. And I also want to add that if, you know, although male breast cancer is rare, that, you know, men who have had a mastectomy, which is possible as well, removal of the breast tissue, we would be open to be able to cover scars for them too, because it's about feeling comfortable in your body post-surgery and post-diagnosis.
That's Karen Malkin-Lazarovitz talking to us about getting tattoos for women that have had mastectomies. Wonderful initiative. So empowering, really. And let's hear about the artists. Where do you find them? Tell us about them.
Well, the first artist I reached out to was the artist who did my own mastectomy tattoo, Megan Gobe, and she was so on board. So she's the only artist who has been with me since the beginning. She volunteers her time and talent for free once every year, which I so appreciate. Throughout the years, I do a lot of my own research, so I'll find some beautiful posts that artists have done online, and I'll reach out to them, and I'll sort of feel it out. I don't generally invite any artists who have not worked with scar tissue or with any type of women who have dealt with radiation, because the skin is different. So I sort of try my best to find, and then I do my due diligence. However, this year, Uptown Tattoos Montreal, the owner is RJ. He's fabulous, and he did a huge tattoo for me last year. And when I was talking to him about this initiative, he was so excited that he volunteered his shop, and all of his artists were on board. So when you find another artist that's just as passionate about giving back. It's almost like the perfect fit.
That's incredible. And I've seen a lot of the coverage so far, which has been really, really heartwarming to watch. Correct me if I'm wrong. The tattoo locations close for the day?
They do. So in a perfect world, pre-pandemic, my goal is always to be able to get all the women in one shop, because there's something special about being with other women who are going through the same experience. So generally, if it's full shop, I'll ask the artist and they'll close the shop. This year, I had to do 4 different days. So one day is done and 5 women have received tattoos. Mm-hmm. But the next 3 days are individual days in the shop in private rooms. So they don't need to close their shop because it's only one person.
Right. Makes sense. You know, you've seen a lot. And you've seen a lot of these tattoos. You have a lot of stories. But Karen, we have to head out to traffic. But when we come back, we're going to hear about the most heartwarming story that you've experienced.
Life Unrehearsed, brought to you by Lianas Senior Transition Support, specialists in downsizing and seniors residences.
You're listening to Life Unrehearsed. I'm Corrie Sirota with Matt Del Vecchio, and we are talking about a very unique initiative for women who've had mastectomies with the organizer of this initiative, Karen Malkin-Lazarovitz. Karen,
yes,
you've met with so you met with so many women. You've helped so many women. I'm sure it's probably even difficult to pick one, but the one that pops into your head about the most heartwarming story that you've seen because of this initiative helping someone who's received the tattoo. Go for it.
It's so hard to say. I mean, this year there was one woman who reached out with an application. I can't even go into detail about loss after loss, her own loss, her breast cancer story, her feeling broken and traumatized, and lost people close to her due to tragic accidents. And had just lost someone extremely close to her and hadn't even been able to get out of bed. And I called her and told her that I was interested in inviting her. And she was from British Columbia. Mm-hmm. And I ended up speaking with her mother at a later date. And her mother said that it was like the first time she had gotten out of bed and been excited about something. Mm-hmm. And so to see even that small change in her during the day and to allow her to feel so pampered and spoiled. It was like the first time she was able to decide what she wanted and do it her way. And you could see this like spark of confidence coming back to her at the end of the day. So that was a really special one because it was the first time I had opened it up to people in Canada. And she was like the first person I called. So that was very heartwarming. There was another story that's a little bit sad. One of the girls that we ended up inviting had metastatic breast cancer and has passed away a year and a half ago, happened to be a friend of mine. And one of the ladies a few years ago dropped out due to health reasons. I had invited her in, and she called me to say that she was so disappointed and she couldn't make it. So it was the perfect timing in between my friend Patty's treatment where she wasn't undergoing any type of treatment, and she decided to have this mastectomy tattoo done, and it was just life-changing for her. And so we were 4 of us always. She passed away a year and a half ago, and we ended up taking the stencil that was used for her mastectomy tattoo, and the 3 of us got part of it tattooed on us as a tribute. So that's sort of my most heartwarming favorite story is being able to give Patty that.
So nice. You know, it's you talk about life-changing and building the confidence. You know, Karen, we've had guests on our show in the past that have had breast cancer, some that have had mastectomies and so on. And we always hear, you know, it is life-changing, you know, and it's hard to get that confidence back. And people are, you know, women are shy and maybe a little uncomfortable talking about it. They're losing their self-esteem. Well, I've met you here before, and you are the opposite. You are out there. You're confident. You got a great attitude. You're bringing the sexy back, really, about breast cancer. And so I'd love to know and hear your perspective on how these tattoos serve to help women recover from trauma.
So I think the something that's misleading is that you think, oh, they get this tattoo, they don't see their scars anymore, and that's what makes the difference. But what I've been told, and I've never been diagnosed with breast cancer. I have been told I had an 87% chance, but it's not the same. So I can't pretend to know what they're going through. However, almost every woman I've spoken to says when they look in the mirror, it's not the scars always that bother them. It's the PTSD that's associated with the cancer diagnosis. So every time they look in the mirror, not only are they seeing, yes, the physical scars, but they're reliving that diagnosis. So when you're given something beautiful to focus on, it does take away from the trauma that you see every day. So that's how I've been told. And there's a lot of women who have been, you know, broken up with due to the fact that they've had a mastectomy. They've had partners tell them that they're not whole. It's about feeling comfortable in your own skin and just knowing that there's other options out there.
Oh, God bless you for giving women this opportunity, really. So people are listening and they're like, I'm sure everyone knows someone who has had breast cancer. They may know someone who's had a mastectomy. What should people do if they're interested?
So right now, it's still just on a Facebook page. I have not yet taken the leap to make it a little bit more open to people. But right now, people can check P.Inc. Montreal on Facebook. I run it also, Karen Malkin-Lazarovitz, so you can reach out to me. I generally offer this once a year. In a perfect world, I'd love to be able to offer more throughout the year, but it's a work in progress because I do this by myself, you know, aside from my full-time job, which, again, I love it, don't get me wrong, but I prefer quality over quantity because I'm not just inviting in any artist. It's a very intimate experience.
We're talking with Karen Malkin-Lazarovitz on her initiative that she is going with called P.Inc. Montreal, Canada. And you could look that up on the Facebook page called P.Inc. Montreal. Karen, we are running out of time here. But as you mentioned, you're doing this on your own while working full time. I'm so impressed. Yet you even have a couple other initiatives I hear going on. Do you want to do a quick little shout out to some of these other initiatives?
Sure. So I run I started the largest Facebook support group online for women living with any type of a hereditary cancer mutation. So it's a private Facebook group called BRCA Sisterhood. So that's open to women who are looking into genetic testing or who have tested positive. And I'm also now venturing into a project actually with the Jewish General Hospital and hereditary cancers, which I'm going to be able to share more about. But my passion is just to let people know that you need to know your family history and you need to just be diligent about your own health.
Just wonderful. Thank you. We want to thank you so much, Karen. And I know we're going to have you back on for sure.
Thank you guys so much for, getting this out there and just showing women that there's other options.
Wonderful. All right. Karen Malkin-Lazarovitz. And we're just going to repeat that one more time. P.Inc. Montreal, if you want to check them out on Facebook. And considering getting a tattoo for those getting mastectomies. Just love the initiative.
You call me if you're interested. I know a few connections.
You can hook him up. Yeah. So what Stephanie would say about that.
All right, Karen. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Corrie. Thanks, you, Matt.
Karen.
All right. Now, Corrie, we have a very interesting guest on the second half, don't we?
Well, yeah. Coming up, second half of the show, meet Julian Grau-Brown. He's a social work student at McGill who spearheaded a sneaker drive for students at James Ling High School. We're going to hear all about that initiative, but that's coming up after the 3:30 CTV News Update.